of heads because there are more than 100 heads which are sculpted on the facade. Wow. And this house is built with stone. And in the Middle Ages that was very rare because very expensive. That was for rich people like, for instance, merchants or knights. And this house is built in 1609 in a style called Rhenish Renaissance style. And you can find the same style of houses in Belgium, Bruges or Brussels, for instance. And what is typical from that style is that the frontal decoration is from the roof. What is very nice to the part in front of the facade called an oriel window, or in English you can say bow window too. And that was done already in the Middle Ages to have more light inside the houses. And then at the top you have a sculpture that's a cooper, and this man is here to show that the house belonged to the wine exchange from Colmar. And today that's a restaurant. The sculpture is done by Bartholdi. I'm sure you know Bartholdi did the Statue of Liberty in New York. He's born in Colmar, so we have plenty of sculptures from him in the city. And what we have in Alsace too is signs like that. And that was already done in the Middle Ages to show the function of the shops, because people didn't know how to read and how to write. That style is from the 17th century, but the very old signs from Colmar are in museums, and that's pure reproductions from the beginning of the 20th century. And he led before a pork butcher's business. And then, yes, Bradley. Corbelling. And what we call corbelling is what's bigger at the second floor compared to the first one, like that. And that was done with corbelling to have more space inside, and that was cheaper because people paid just the first floor. Oh. Yeah, very clever. And the oldest, like this one in Colmar, are from the 16th century. The first floor was done with stone, and that was for the shops, that was houses for merchants. And second and third floor were done with cob and wood. And in the 19th century they put plaster on it because it was too dangerous in case of a fire. And that was restored between 1960-70 about. And after this sign, traiteur, we will be in what was Colmar in the Middle Ages. And the first city wall went on both sides of this street. That was destroyed in the 17th century. Any question? Well, everything seems to be all right, so we can go further.
Quick question.
Dominican Friars Church. And we've already seen the Dominican Nuns Convent where we began the tour. And in Colmar in the Middle Ages we had 6 religious orders because the city was already prosperous. And this one was built between 1260 and 1330 and was never destroyed. The stained glass windows are original from the 14th century. After the French Revolution it was closed, as all the churches in France used as a barrack for soldiers. In the 19th century that was a covered market, and now that's a museum for another painting called the Virgin in Rosebush, made by Schongauer in the 15th century. Right, we go there, please. That's another very old farm from Colmar from the 14th century. And it was much bigger as today. On that side lay another building burned in the 17th century. And that was probably the wine cellar for the Dominican nuns from Unterlinden. For the moment there is nothing inside, that's a garage, and it might become a museum for arts and traditions from Alsace. Let's go back.
Something like that. It's windy here. So you fly down to
In 1 hour, but you not in collegiate church. That's not a cathedral because Colmar was never a bishopric, but that's big as a cathedral, and this was built between the 13th and 14th century. On the rest from a church from the 11th century. And the oldest part is at the far end of the church, so you will see that later on. And most of the stained glass windows are original from the 14th century. That was built with that stone called the yellow sandstone. Have you been to Fribourg? Strasbourg? Okay.
Fribourg in Germany?
Freiburg in Germany, yes, Strasbourg. You have another kind of stone which is pink. That's the pink sandstone, more typical in Alsace, and that came from the mountains Les Vosges. If you go to Strasbourg, all the old buildings are made with the pink sandstone. But in Colmar, we have more of that stone. There is a reason that came from Rouffach. That's a little city about 10 miles south from Colmar. That was cheaper and much easier to carry in the Middle Ages. And we have some pink sandstone, but for buildings from the 18th or 19th century. And there is just one tower. The second one on the left was never done because it was too expensive. House built with stone from Colmar, and that was built in 1350. Well, that changed a lot in the 14th century, but in the first floor that's Gothic windows, and second floor Renaissance window, 16th century. And that was just restored last year, and now the two houses, and that will be flats to rent from the city. And the other building in front of us is the former guardhouse of the city. Or today you would say that's for the police, and that was built in the 16th century. Okay, we go on the other side, please. Family Austria, Germany, and for France, Alsace and Burgundy. I don't know if you know Dijon or Rome. That's very famous in Rome. Looks like that. From Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, the sculptor. He's born in Colmar in 1834, but the family stayed just 1 or 2 years in Colmar and then went to Paris, where he died in 1904. And then his wife gave the house to the city to do a museum. And that's a museum, one part for the history of Colmar, one part is for the furniture he had in Paris, and the last part for all the drawings and writings he did for the Statue of Liberty in New York. And this house is from the 18th century. And this sculpture is one of its last work done at the beginning of the 20th century. And it represents for Bartholdi the three sustenance of the world, and for him that was justice, the lady here in front of us, patriotism on my right, and work on the other side. So we can go here.
Patriotism. Justice.
That's another very famous house from Colmar. Another house built with stone, which means that the first owner was rich. And this man grows rich thanks to the exploration of silver mines not far from Colmar. And then he built this house in 1537. And we have two styles, Gothic and Renaissance. Gothic with the oriel window, the bow window at the corner. And for the Renaissance part, the wall paintings on both sides. And this part, the stairs in the turrets. And that wasn't like that to go quicker outside in case of a fire. Nobody lives in this house that belongs to the city of Colmar. But that's an historical monument of 48 houses in Colmar, because Colmar was never destroyed. The heart of the city in the 15th and 16th century. That was a commercial and political building. Commercial for the basement. All the goods which came into Colmar went out from the city or went through the city must come here. And the merchants... district. And the tanners needed...
Dann hast du einen Brief vom Café.